So I think what we're on is we're following the smoke of this disruption fire, and it's going everywhere. It goes everywhere. It goes across this industry. It goes across social media. It goes across political, media. It's just incredible. We're really and truly, I think, in the middle, the vortex. It's going to be a free-for-all, and if you're not on board that free-for-all, if your business doesn't have a plug to stick into a receptacle somewhere, you're
Now for the week ending July 24th, 2016. My name is Eric Stromquist, and we're here at Control Talk Now, where we talk about all things controls. Smart controls, dumb controls, we don't care. They're controls, they're in the building. We want to talk about it. And who's the we? Well, if you've been watching Control Talk Now, the Smart Buildings VideoCast, or listening to the podcast, you know that my co-host, your co-host, the best in the industry, the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, Kenny Smyers, is teeing up and ready to go. Kenny, welcome to the show, big dog.
Well, thank you very much, Eric. It's always fun to follow your animated entry and your intro, and how things going down there in Atlanta, Georgia.
Well, dude, I tell you what, they're going okay. As you guys probably know, if you're a regular on Control Trends, Kenny and I went fishing last week, and anytime you see that sign, that is an indicator for our audience, an inside thing that Kenny and I had to do some damage controls with our lovely wives. For those of you who don't know, Control Trends is a labor of love for Kenny and myself, and we do this after hours and on weekends, and sometimes, our wives, we just got to take care of them. So I'm happy to report, Kenny, that I'm still married, and everything is good, and we're going to get to do the show today.
Well done, Eric. Well done. I don't think I have the domestic pressures that you do. I admire how much energy it takes and how much you give to do this show, in addition to being a father of two youngins, 4 and 1.5 now?
Yeah, well, 3.5, and I think Axel's about 14, 15 months old now. So he is not only Kenny crawling now, he went straight from crawling to running, and both of them now have figured out. We got this little chair thing like that you get up on, like a little ladder, and both of them have figured out how to get up on that. So they get in the pantry, they get food out, man. I'll probably go upstairs and there'll be rice everywhere and stuff, but they're living the dream, and they're great kids. We're having a great time, and I totally adore and love my wife. So occasionally we'll have to go fishing, but we'll make it up this week, big dog. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about, but let's start with our sponsors this week. As you know, we got the Control Trends Awards coming up in January. We have platinum sponsors. We got great platinum sponsors. Without the platinum sponsors and the other sponsors, we just couldn't do the Control Trends Awards. So this year we want to talk about a couple of special ones. Let's start off with Niagara. Tritium, which, you got Nino DeCosmo, Ed Merwin, John Subwit, Jenny Graves, the whole team over there. If you think about it, Kenny, those are the people that connected all together, right?
Well, sure. And we're coming off the Niagara Summit 2016 from New Orleans, and the Niagara 4, the whole launch pad. The Niagara 4 is going to be the platform for building automation for the foreseeable future. It's got all the bells and whistles, all the upgrades, HTML5. It's got embedded, data analytics, embedded graphics. So you've got a lot of, it's a formidable package that's really good for the systems integration world. And then also you have the JACE 8000, which is, just a revolutionary approach to a building controller. It has a very easy and scalable modular growth for the size of your project. So you can start with 5 devices and go all the way up to 200 on the same JACE just by, upgrading your number of devices through a license enablement. So it's very clever and very good. So they certainly got a lot of headwinds, behind them. Yeah. And they're the leaders right now in the building automation.
And I tell you what, the thing I love about Niagara is I love the people there. I mean, if you think about, Ed Merwin, for example, one of the greats from Tridium. Without Ed, we probably wouldn't be having this product. Ed's a PID award winner. Nino DeCosmo, the CEO, won Executive of the Year, I think 2 years ago. Great guy. Of course, Jenny Graves. She's all over marketing. You should follow her on Twitter if you're not already, at Jenny L. Graves. She'll keep you posted. And of course, our guy, James Johnson. I mean, the products are only as good as the tech support, and James Johnson is the consummate professional.
He sure is, and he won a tech support probably twice, and I think he could win it every year because he's just so deeply behind. He's doing some of the heavy lifting with. But Niagara has a great staff, so even though James is the obvious the most recognizable face in the bunch, they've got a very deep staff of talent and writing all that. The programming language, and it's just rough, and it's a never stop world. In other words, we live sometimes in a static environment. We think a year is short term, but for those guys, they've got to upgrade stuff every month. They've got to have their heads. They've got to be following all the trends and following all the things going on. The security upgrades just constantly in the hardware and software.
James is a great guy, but hey, Kenny, I got a question for you. We talk a lot about systems integrators, having trouble finding qualified people to go out and do it. I mean, it's a great field. We talk a lot about bringing people into the field, but I have a solution for this, which is, why in the world would you have your best tech support people building control panels when you can have our next sponsor, Hepta Systems? Actually, the sponsor is the Panel Shop, SHOPPE.com. And these guys, they can put your Jaces in there for you. They can pre-wire them, check them out, send them down. But you got a top-notch systems integrator that has a Panel Shop UL rated. So I encourage you to check those guys out, because that's one way you can get your horsepower back in the field. Instead of having them sitting on a bucket wiring a control panel, you could have these guys just check those guys out, the Panel Shop. And hey, where else can you get your panels autographed by a guy who looks just like the cop in Breaking Bad, our friend Hank, yeah, for sure. But those guys do great work, Kenny. As a matter of fact, Ted was in town last week, and very, very bright guy. Jason did a presentation for us, his son, remotely. It was kind of cool because we have all these engineers in this building, and Jason sitting in a lobby, and occasionally it goes out. He goes, "I'm sorry, I'm sitting in a lobby doing this presentation." The guest internet would go in and out. So it was
getting
cool
back
stuff.
to the Panel Shop too, and you're so right. And I think it's something we're seeing in the disruptive aspects of our industry. Instead of everybody trying to have, attempting to get their own professional overhead, get their own champion for, doing the panels, providing technical service, doing the extra third-party stuff like FinStack and parts and smarts. You got to know everything about everything, what's coming out with new panels and what the regulations are or the standards. And then providing software as a service, being a Niagara expert, and having the just the ability to do custom graphics. Well, the Panel Shop can take that heavy load off of your organization. Instead of you trying to hire an individual that's capable of doing all that, we're seeing a development in our area or in our industry where you're going to start selectively purchasing services from people that provide it full time. And that saves you that additional overhead, gets you off the job, and it gets it done very professionally.
No, absolutely. And I think when we talk about master systems integrators, I think, Hepta is one of the top ones. Guys like Automation Integrated, which we'll talk about later, and McKinney's here in Atlanta is one. And then our boy Rick Warner, man, from West Virginia. So there's some of them out there that just sort of lead the pack a little bit. I'm sure there are a lot more out there that we don't know about. But Kenny, let me ask you a personal question. How do I look in this hat?
Well, I tell you what, it's very befitting, Eric. It brings out your eyes and, all the other features. It's good selection. Yeah,
so Kenny and sort of sit up a little bit so we can see your shirt. Yeah, there you go. All right, you got the big red H on it. So Kenny and I, we're kind of swag whores. If you send us your swag, we'll wear it. So this is KMC, a product line that Kenny and I both handle. A great DDC product line. Eric Kruder, third generation family up there, running KMC Control. So we talk a lot about them on the show. So appreciate the hat. Thanks. Kenny's got the Honeywell shirt on. And man, what can you say about Honeywell, Kenny?
Well, Honeywell's got a lot of good stuff happening. They released a BACnet thermostat last week, and it's also available in wireless. So they're finally on board with the the standalone and integrated commercial thermostat. They've got some new stuff coming out that we're just getting familiarized. It takes a long time for these they're long developing products, and I just started to really take a look at that Slate and the combustion product line that they have. Wow, is that cool? We are coming into our heating season. So now here it is August, and people are finally getting back to the projects that they abandoned at the end of the heating season last year. A little bit late on the start, but all of a sudden now combustion controls are coming into season, and everybody's sending the combustion analyzers in to get them prepared, calibrated, and certified for combustion analyzing. But the fuel air ratio is such a no-brainer as far as the industry. There's so much savings available if you could put in one of these new slate programs where you've got state-of-the-art technology providing you state-of-the-art savings and energy efficiencies. Because we all got to get involved. We need the money, and we need to save the environment. So it's a win-win.
Can I tell you a little secret about slate?
Sure.
So here's the thing: the traditional boiler guys, because we have a lot of boiler contractors, and we have a staff of people that were raised in the combustion industry. They hate it.
That's nice.
No, but they do. But here's the interesting thing: your systems integrators, our guys in house, and our integrators that see it, they love it. And I think the reason being is because at the heart of it, you have a JACE. And the fuel air ratio has nothing to do with the JACE, but the slate platform that allows you to integrate. And I think what we're going to see as the combustion people get more familiar with, how the JACE works and how that programming works, I think they're going to love it too. But I think you're taking a real leap there, Kenny, for sure. But hey, Big Dog, talking about taking a leap, man, we missed last week because we were fishing. AKA code for we were appeasing our wives. But I tell you, we're not going to go through all the posts from the week before. We had a couple of key ones I think we definitely need to talk about.
We sure do. And
yeah.
Well, starting it off, we have the systems integrator alert. This was a great post because it incorporates a lot of information and a video. But we're talking about the Automation Integrated's introduction of the GLIF, GLIFF, which is a free online backup service for Niagara systems integrators. It's a great way to back up all your projects, all your stations. And they also have a new service contract maker. And this is a very interesting aspect, is that the people at Automation Integrated believe that a lot of our sweet spots, our products, are going to be reduced in scale because of the technologies like wireless. And because wireless does two things: it reduces the number of controllers, and it also does away with all the cabling, all the network. So that was a lot of revenue. That was a big portion of a project. And if this starts to efface and get smaller and smaller, you need to make up that revenue somewhere else. And they believe that there's a way to do that. They're proposing that you could radically increase your ability to sell service contracts and generate reoccurring revenue through a disruptive time. And this is mostly because of what wireless that was specifically identified through an asset management system called Blue Force. Well, I've downloaded them and started messing around with them. And I tell you what, it is really cool because it's like an iPhone now. It's the whole concept now. We have all this convergence of technology. So if you get one thing, one graphic, you can put so much into it, and it's so informative. Provides you a pictorial, presentation of the status of your equipment. A lot of people, they say air handler, they think they've got this thing up on the roof that's producing, cooling and the heating, but they don't realize this thing's a rust bucket and it needs repaired. And as soon as we have some additional revenue, some budget money, let's go repair this thing, because it gives you an analysis that's not just, through charts and numbers, but also pictorial presentation. So very clever, good stuff.
No, it is awesome stuff. And of course, you can see it. That is not Heisenberg from Breaking Bad there on your screen right now if you're watching the video cast. That's Jeff Haupt from HEPTA, which we got a chance to meet Jeff out at RealComicCon. He came in, we did a live stream. You can see there's a video of the live stream, so you can check it out. And you can also see that if you click on that link right there, there's some special information, some special offers from these guys on the product. But Kenny, it's something you definitely got to check out, man, because it's cool stuff. And you're right, because of wireless. And then the biggest villain in our industry right now, I'm gonna call him out right now and name him. It's Kevin Fasinelli from Vykon International. So Kevin is doing all this backward integration stuff, which could eliminate valves and actuators and all kinds of stuff. So we're going to have to scramble. He is the Darth Vader of our industry right now. I mean that sort of affectionately, but not really. But I think we all have to be thinking differently, because there's technology bypasses going on. And so we got to rock and roll with that. But let's move on to something more positive, Kenny. What's the next thing we want to talk about? Our friends from Haystack last week, right?
Well, yeah, the Project Haystack, e-news, major additions to the Project Haystack website. The wheels are turning again. They have a big show coming up in Tampa Bay, 2017. I believe it's May. And so what they're doing now is they're beating the bushes for some attention. It's May 8th through the 10th, 2017. But they're excited because they've got a new enhancement to the Project Haystack website. And remember, this is a community site. This is a collaborative venture. And if you have information, if you embrace the Haystack concepts and the semantics and templating, then you can add your thoughts and your opinions and your work and your efforts and be recognized for it at Operation Project Haystack, which is an organizational forum, and they've got a new blog and a new download. So there's a lot of information being generated and available. So they're trying to draw attention to the Haystack community members. Come visit the site and contribute and also take advantage of the knowledge there.
Let me ask you something. Have you ever worn a bow tie? Be honest. Outside of with the tuxedo.
Oh, no. I got married with a bow tie or whatever. It's that kind of bow tie in German.
So I think I've got a challenge for you, man. Next week, wear a bow tie on the show. All right, let's move on. I can tell that's a no. That's what Kenny looks like when he's going, not only going no, but hell no. So our podcast listeners can't see Kenny's expression, but it might be worth just coming over to the VideoCast and checking it out just to see Kenny's response to rocking a bow tie, man.
I'll wear one if you wear one. How's that?
I'll tell you what, man. Do we have any vendors? Oh, you know who wears a bow tie, rocked a bow tie, is Randy Lee from Genesis.
Yeah,
I bet he would send us bow ties as long as we mentioned him on the show. Randy Lee, if you're listening, which you probably are, send me and Kenny 2 bow ties, preferably clip-ons, because we'll never figure out how to tie them, and we'll wear them, and we'll give you a shout-out on the show, man.
All right, I'm up. I'm in.
All right, big dog. So what do we have up next, big dog?
Well, next up we have J2 Innovations, Jason Briggs, and the game-changing technology inside Fin 4.0. Another company on the move. J2 Innovations has upscaled their logo. It looks cool. It looks like a shark fin with the fin inside of it, the F. But Jason does a great job. There's a video to accompany the post, and it talks about all the new stuff under the hood. These guys are really, really smart too. They've got tagging, data modeling, HTML5 down to a fundamental science that's changing our industry. And they believe for integrators, they say, hey, get your jobs done easier, faster, with the industry-leading software tools and co-applications that will help you solve more jobs, engineer your jobs quicker at a lower cost, generating more revenue for you and offering more value to your customers. So it's really good stuff.
No, absolutely, man. And Jason Briggs is one of those cool guys, man. He really is. So good time, Kenny. As you know, we're putting together a podcast called Control Trends People, which is kind of the life stories of people before they became famous in the controls industry. And I've got 4 of those done already, and the stories are absolutely fascinating. It's amazing, sort of the background to some of the folks in our industry. And I think Jason's coming on next week. He'll be one of the original ones, hopefully, him and Scott Minch. So, stay tuned for that. That'll be coming out. Control Trends People. It'll be podcast only. We'll be bringing that out sooner rather than later.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. And I really do like those interviews. I've got the chance to hear some of what you've done already. And I'll tell you what, particularly with Lim, and some of the heart-rending stories are where people have come from and how, life is just it's a journey, and so many people's successes were caused by serendipity. And then some of the hard work people have done, and who knows, people should know that Lim, Hoon Chat from Easy.io has 5.
Hey, don't give away my secrets, man. They'll have to listen to the podcast. But let me tell you something. Lim's got a very inspiring story that you'll want to hear. And so we'll keep you posted on that. Like I said, we'll probably drop that probably in the next 2 weeks or so. Rob Allen's got a Young Guns podcast he's working on with the likes of Jason Haupt and some of the other young guns in the industry. I think you'll have to have an ID to listen to that. You'll have to be under 30, but I think everybody, you have to be on the show, you have to be under 30, I think. So Rob's doing a great job. I've been tracking that, and that's going to be awesome too. So we're going to have some great new content for you on Control Trends as well, something you can listen to on your smartphone as you ride around in the car.
All righty. Well, isn't that when you don't let certain other people belong to a club or organization? What's that called? Discrimination? So you and I can't be Young Guns anymore, huh?
Oh, man, we've been blackballed, man. You'd have to get some Botox and probably a tummy tuck. Me too.
Well, you know what? You can have it. I'm past 30 and I'm glad. So
I hear you, brother.
But no, Ron, I can't wait to see it because there's so many smart people. And we got another, big Young Guns presentation coming up at the 2016 Control Trends Awards. And we're taking submissions. So we've already got a couple. And if you know somebody inside your organization that holds a prominent position, would be a great role model, can tell us a great success story, kind of reverse engineer their progress in the building automation world or HVAC world in any capacity. We're very interested in seeing this because we want to feature these people at the Control Trends Awards show and inspire more, just more attention so that we can attract more and more talent to our industry. The younger, the better.
All right. So, Kenny, man, speaking of that, our buddy Mark Peacock, I caught him up with him at Vykon. The Eagles had that song, Take It to the Limit, one more time. Mark Peacock takes it to the edge, man. Tell us about Mark's post there, our post on Mark Peacock.
Well, I was right there when you interviewed Mark. First of all, I want to compliment you again on the great job you did as the roving reporter.
Yeah.
You make it look easy, and it isn't. There's people walking by. You got to set things up. You got to get the camera guys in the way, but not in the way, and but then you got to bring the information out, and it's all about content. And Mark does a great job because LinkSpring is really happy with what they've got going on. They've got this E2E, which is very clever. Edge to enterprise, which they're talking now about maybe a reverse flow of information instead of sending everything up into the cloud and overwhelming the cloud services costing more money, the security issues, whatever. A lot of that can be done now by edge controllers. So they're introducing a technology that now you have a family of modular open hardware bridges and gateways that support multiple devices across the key market segments in our business. And now they do, they can do the information exchange and control at a local level. So you get it more readily, faster, and then you can take that information and apply it quicker. And also you reduce the bandwidth, you don't overflow the bandwidth going up into the cloud, paying for that services. And then apparently there's a security issue that we'll be talking about later on in the show, that what can happen to your information. And then by using edge devices, you get a better operational flow.
No, you really do. And of course, Mark is the consummate professional. Talk about a guy who's easy to interview. Mark is the guy. And by the way, Kenny, we'll probably be getting him on in the next couple of weeks. He's going to come back on the show. He stays busy. He travels a lot, does a lot of stuff. But I think LinkSpring really has their hand, on the pulse of some of the trends we're tracking. I mean, their Cyber Pro is a great little solution for cybersecurity. This whole thing about, the enterprise to the edge, and you're so right, Kenny. I mean, the whole reason you want to do as much processing as you can at the edge is because it's expensive to send stuff up and down. And their products like Onyx and stuff like that do a great job with that. Very price competitive. And of course, Terry Swope, the CEO of LinkSpring, one of our favorite people around. So good stuff there. I encourage you to check out LinkSpring and tell Mark Peacock you want to take it to the edge one more time.
Nice. Oh, man. Let me take a breath there. Okay.
All right. What do we have up next, big dog?
Oh, you're on fire today, or keep it up. Well, we got changing, gears and speeds or whatever. We had an opportunity to get, firsthand visibility into that Silicon Valley thing. They're running at a different tempo. They've got, state-of-the-art cities. We're thinking we're clever. We got, platinum leads buildings, and we're proud of it. And we're making strides towards, really achieving the application of this IoT, where you go to a city like San Jose and something Palo Alto or whatever it was, and it was about 3 of them. They've actually got their whole city integrated with IoT. So every car coming up to a red light can see when the light's going to change. I mean, they're a little about a half a light year ahead of us. But one of the guys that really tracks the trends is this gentleman named Cade Metz from Wired Magazine. So the title of the blog was Silicon Valley 2016 Trends for Smart Buildings and Homes. And this was at the RealComicCon conference live, and it was a great feature. And that's one you participated and gave this gentleman that does this a break for lunch. But this Cade Metz was a very, very smart guy with his, he's got, what we think Therese Sullivan does for our industry, he does for the world through Wired magazines. I mean, he is on top of the trends. So he was asked point blank, what are some of the biggest trends coming up? What do they mean? And how does that impact the building space? And he had some great answers.
No, he really did. And, one of the technologies he was talking about, and of course, we saw his presentation live out at RealComicCon. So if you don't go to RealComicCon, you just miss out on so much. It's such a great show. Howard Berger and Jim Young do such a great job with that, and Lisa Woods. And to hear this guy speak live was absolutely amazing. I mean, because he is just tracking everything like you say. But, one of the takeaways I have, and it goes hand in glove with our next post, which is, what is blockchain and what do you need to know about it? I mean, there's a lot of talk about blockchain. And blockchain, in very simplistic layman terms, is a way to move data around. And it was developed sort of around, Kenny's favorite currency, Bitcoin, right, which is a digital currency. And there are a lot of really smart people, Kenny, that think that is the wave of the future because you can't manipulate it. You can't fraud it. It's easy to keep up with. But this blockchain is the way they move that around. So, and they're saying that this could be one of the most disruptive technologies yet. The real estate people are very interested in it because it's a way that they can do leases back and forth without having to go through banks and not having to use money and all the fees that they use with that. So my question is, how is this going to show up in building automation controls? I mean, is it just a matter of time before these real estate folks who were hot to trot on on blockchain, are they going to be pushing back down to our level and going, hey, man? Right.
Well, he said it was going to be the most disruptive. He singled blockchain out as the technology that was going to become the new public ledger of all transactions. So basically, a block stands as a proof of a transaction that occurred on the network. The block is the current part of a blockchain which records all or some of the recent transactions. And once completed, goes into a blockchain as a permanent database. Each time a block gets completed, a new block is generated. So what happens is, like, let's say you sell something to somebody. Instead of doing your QuickBooks and you make an entry, in that way we used to see it now, where you'd get a line by line basis of the date, the transaction and the amount and the balance or whatever, or the amount due. They're going to have it's a whole new program. It's a whole new presentation called, it's going to be done in blocks and it's going to be in a chain. And the incredible thing about it is it's a registry that has like certifications to it. It's like a secure registration. So you don't have to have all these agencies. You don't have, like, let's say you buy a house, and you have to, get the deed and you have to get the survey and you have to get whatever you have to associated with the purchase of a house. Instead of having 5 or 6 different agencies and 5 different clumps of paperwork coming in, it's all going to use the same database and all be generated in blocks on a single transaction line. So it's pretty incredible stuff. And so it obviously would impact us. Would just be one of the in terms of the priority, would be out there, probably towards the end of it, because what we do isn't regarded as the highest priority. It's because we're not. The further away you are from the bank, that's going to be your line, your order of interest. So,
all right, Kenny, man, that blockchain stuff is sort of fascinating. I think our next guest can shine some light on it. How about introducing our next guest, Kenny?
Love to, Eric. Our next guest is Therese Sullivan, principal of BuildingContext.me. Therese is a very special professional. She's a writer, technologist, and marketing professional that provides news and analysis for commercial building systems integrators, facility managers, and real estate professionals about innovations in the building automation. She's our eyes and ears from Silicon Valley. Welcome to the show, Therese Sullivan.
Hey, Therese. Welcome to the show.
Hey, hi, Ken and Eric.
It's good to see you. Good to see you.
So, it's so fun.
Yeah. Well, we have a good time, and I think the last time we had a good time, we were out in at RealComicCon, right? So I want to talk about that before we do that, you've been busy. What's been going on with you?
I have been busy. There's always a lot of deadlines. And at Vykon, I was meeting with Scott Minch, who probably saw us huddling up in the near his booth writing with my pen. And we got a great article out in Automated Buildings, which I think is an important one about Haystack and about J2's FinStack product, because they have the new FinStack 4. So they have a push right now. But what Scott did was much more of a tutorial that we worked on together, and he really wrote it. I just kind of sort of the pusher nagger and
so
get it into print.
Yeah.
But he really gave the 6 return on investment avenues that you get when you really set up a database for metadata tagging. And that article was in the July Automated Buildings, and really good article if you want to understand what's going on.
Well, let's talk about this a minute, Therese, because, you do some really incredible stuff in terms of, nagging to make sure stuff gets done. I think, one of the things you've done for people in our industry, and Kenny and I talked earlier in the show about Haystack and what you did for them in terms of their blog and fixing that. But you really sort of offer a great writing skill, social media, blogs. Talk a bit about what you do and how people in our industry can benefit from your services.
Right. I think, you know how philosophical Ken Sinclair is. And he once said, which very resonated with me, that I'm a weaver. And actually my Irish name, Breslin, in Gaelic means weaver. And I'm a weaver of thoughts. And there's not very many of those in our industry that has a real grip on what I can't say all, but a good number of the important players are doing, and how that weaves together, how all that works together. So when I work on stories, they're usually of a level that aren't it's not particularly promotional about what you're selling right now, but the whole solution as it fits into the industry.
No,
you're bringing.
I think so, Therese, and I think Haystack's a great example. I think the thing you did with Scott mentioned, J2, is a great example, and I think that more and more we're finding that you better have a social presence and a media presence, and you sort of better know what you're doing too, and that's where I'm going to go ahead and give you a shameless plug right now. That's where I think you could come in and really help people out. And Therese, is your blog is buildingcontext.me. It's very, very current. So I would encourage our community, if you're looking to sort of have an impact digitally, I think Therese brings a lot to the table regarding that.
Right.
So Therese, listen, we've had about a month or so to sort of sit back after RealComicCon. Do you have any takes or any takeaways after thinking about it for a month? What's sort of still in your mind and standing out?
There's a number of things on my mind and standing out. I think we all came back with a stack of cards and follow-up to do. But one of the things that I realized, and it's pulling again on this social media thread and being a weaver, is we have such a powerful tool in Twitter these days. And at IBCon, I got to meet face-to-face with some of the people that I've only been calling on. And there's so many social media experts that are joining our community that are using Twitter in a really effective way. So how to help them has been one of the things I've really been ruminating. Is they tend to be younger. Our industry is pretty complex when you think of all the audiences and all the topic areas, from demand response to building commissioning to comfort, and who at IBCon out enforce all of our corporate real estate people, how they work, what their concerns are, who the players are. Pulling that all together for a new person to our industry is tough, and I think when you're hired to be the voice, the Twitter voice, it's even harder. So I've been kind of ruminating on how to make that easier for them.
Therese, I have to. What you had written recently, it's a testament to that and the importance and the criticality. You made an analogy, and not to be political, but you mentioned that without payment or permission, Donald Trump amassed 1 million Twitter followers and is now releasing information on such a timely basis that it's an extraordinary event. Just to give it an impact, if you can't harness the Twitter and the power of Twitter, and have an expert servicing your needs socially, it's a huge advantage to an organization.
Right. And the fact that he tweets himself, I mean, I think this division of labor, sometimes people trip on that. And he certainly trips on it. Not that he's a hero, but I just, or a villain. I'm not getting political about this, but I think you just have to take stock that he didn't need the New York Times. And actually, I think the number now of his followers is like 8 million or something, is that he made his own mistakes and he made his own coups, if you will, using Twitter. And that cut out all this like needing to buy TV time, needing to own the New York Times in a PR sense.
Right, because they used to block it. If they didn't, if you didn't pay and you didn't play the game and let them allow them to influence what you were trying to say, you didn't get the media time.
Right. So just to notice that, take stock of that for a second, and then look at our own industry. In the past, Gartner Group, for example, in IT, you had to go through Gartner Group if you wanted to get your message out or to get on their quadrant. He's kind of saying all those middlemen, maybe, and PR, it's not Gartner, it's the PR agencies, it's the analysts, it's the your own corporate communications department, all the gatekeepers that were crafting the message. They threw them all out. And I think when you think in our own industry, what happens when you throw all those people out? It's a brand new ballgame.
Sure is.
Well, so how do you, is there anybody that you see in our industry that's doing Twitter particularly well right now?
Well, actually, I don't know if you guys have noticed Analytica by Symmetrics.
I have, yes.
Yes. And she's amazing, I think, the woman that's behind that voice, that Analytica voice, because her tweets tend to, and I know you guys have so much great information in your archive. So does RealCom. So does Ken, 15 years.
Right.
And when you see what Analytica is doing, she's able to pull up I retweeted this morning a great thing from 2014, article on monitoring base commissioning by Jim Sinopoli and the CTO of Symmetrics. And she's got the knowledge of, that was a great piece, the 8 things that go into monitoring base commissioning. And she pulled it up from 2014, retweeted it, got all sorts of, because we have all these new people are in our industry. The thing about her, worked on development, I think, of the Symmetrics data analytics solution. She's not a social media person that they hired because she was good at Snapchat. She's become good at Twitter after 15 years already in data science and analytics. She's just, her game is being played at a whole different level.
Well, she is. She tweets a lot, and it's interesting because I think that Twitter to me is sort of a microcosm of the new, as Jeff Haupt from Automation Integrated says, the integrity economy, the networked economy. Because to be successful on Twitter, it can't just be that you put your own stuff up. You have to put good stuff up, right? But the way you get followers and you curry favor is you tweet other people's stuff, right? You follow other people, and then other people typically will reciprocate and follow you. If you tweet their stuff, they retweet your stuff. So I think it's kind of a little mini cosmon, if you will, of how maybe business, as Ken Sinclair says, the co-competition model works.
Yeah, and I have in my since engaging with you guys, I have not been that concerned about my site or my own Twitter presence. It's been more about my clients. Haystack being a client, I really want to see them gather Twitter followers, any of my clients, Altura, and I haven't been that concerned about my own following, but I see where it's super important. I think I am learning a lot from what Analytica is doing as well. Very, very cool. Well, listen. And you guys, hats off.
Well, thanks.
To what you guys are achieving. I mean, I think she's coming up behind you guys in terms of really understanding how powerful this stuff is.
Well, I'll tell you something. I saw some of her stuff and just she's on top of it because I retweeted one of her tweets, and next thing I know, she's following me. She's retweeting my tweets, and I mean that's just the way it works. And it's interesting. And I think at least for now, Twitter seems to be the platform of choice for some of what Ken and I would call the young guns in the industry. That tends to be how they tend to roll. So good stuff there. But Therese, help us understand blockchain. And we had a post earlier, and Cade Metz was talking a bit about how he thinks blockchain might be one of the most disruptive technologies to hit the marketplace in a long time. And Ken and I are sort of groping with how this could affect us in terms of building automation controls and smart buildings. What do you think?
I am not a blockchain expert, but of course I do have thoughts. And I think that blockchain in the area of transactive energy, that we're going to move into an era where energy is the equivalent of money, and being able to transact when we all have, I guess, the Tesla power walls in our garage that are saving the energy that we produced from our PVs on our roof during the day so we can still light our houses and charge our cars. We'll be buying and selling energy with our neighbors. And I think to imagine a blockchain piece of code in the naming, actually, so it does kind of come down to Haystack too. To have blockchain in the naming of stuff is going to be super important. I don't know where that is. I think it is very futuristic, and I can't talk to it as an expert. But here's one, so I'll put a period on that and say, here's my next thought, which is just my favorite thing that I ever heard to explain it, was if you were like walking down a street in Manhattan and somebody dropped a piano and everybody took a picture of the piano because they all had their cell phones, we would know that transaction happened. We would not know who dropped the piano, why the piano dropped, or anything else, but we would know what happened, and there would be all this documentation of it. So it would be in the old days of IBM, you had this idea of two-phase commit when they were doing financial transaction processing. Now you can see with blockchain, it's like that two-phase commit. It's happening because many people see the event, record the event, and it's still anonymous.
Well, listen, I just wanted to provide just a basic definition. I did watch I was there when Cade Metz did it, the blockchain being the number one disruptive, and then he did it in Real Conference Live. But the blockchain is a main technical innovation of Bitcoin, where it serves as the public ledger for Bitcoin transactions. Every user is allowed to connect to the network, send new transactions to it, verify transactions, and create new blocks, making it permissionless. The Bitcoin blockchain design has been the inspiration for other cryptocurrencies and replicated databases. But I think what you said about energy being the new money, I mean, that's a neat concept, because ultimately it gets to the point where you have to be able to track it, and the people providing energy aren't going to be connected to the people wanting it through normal media occurrences. So this blockchain would give that kind of a transactional possibility. So that's something that's going to come. But my problem, Therese, is timelines. How long does something like this actually get to our industry and become important, do you think?
Well, here I'm going to mention another name is Josh, of our friends, is Josh Bradford of Work Tech Work. He also does VLab at Stanford, which is a meetup thing. And at one of Josh's events, it was all about blockchain. And the experts from Silicon Valley that he had on stage said it'll be 10 years. Wow. So the exciting stuff right now is that they're practicing with are different little markets. Like there's a market for really high-end sneakers. Air Jordans from 1988 or something. There's a market for polishing. It's a worldwide market. It's a strange market, but it's very vibrant, evidently. And there's a company, an app developer that's using blockchain to do these transactions, bids for how much these shoes should go for. It's working. So it's working in these small markets, and that's a legitimate one. The other thing they said that night is it's going to go through some illegitimate markets first, and be tested out on stuff. I mean, I think that was a clean one they could talk about. I think there's a lot of drugs and pornography and terrible stuff we don't even want to know about that it's going to be used for. But those are going to be like testing grounds. So
the deep net type stuff. But could you guys see it? Is it more secure? Like, for example, could you see a day where the new protocol, instead of being backnet, was something like blockchain? And if so, is it more secure from hackers and stuff like that?
Here's another truism, but it's futuristic. But stuff like that grows up in it's like kids. It's like raising kids. You want to throw kids in the dirty piles so that they get all the microbes and it gets tested out. You don't want to get bubble babies that never get. And I think that these technologies, when they grow up in the deep net and in all this, being tested worldwide, having all the worst of the hackers already hacking on them, that actually what comes out is something stronger, and it may be more secure for the fact of emerging from the world. Does that make sense?
That the hackers want to keep it safe from the government for all their illicit stuff, so they'll make it hack proof. Right? Maybe.
Well, yes, that's just it. If it comes out of that side of the equation, it might permanently be tainted, by the actual construction and the formulation of it. And it seems so.
I know. It's kind of like you have to take your head and kind of screw it on a different way, though, too. It's like, what makes it secure is like, you think, oh, I'll get something developed from IBM in the internal labs of IBM, and it'll be the most secure encryption. I mean, I think this is the way the world of security has gone this far. It'll be semantic, totally controlled by the best labs of America, and yet it turns out to be, because it isn't being like constantly tested and probed by all the evildoers. It's not that secure. Because it has come out of a lab, and this stuff that comes out of the depths where they have to, it's secure because the black hats have figured out already all the ways to penetrate, and then it got protected for all those ways. It's more secure.
So cool, Therese. So listen, again, month and a half or about a month from RealComicCon. What are some of the things you're thinking about now? They sort of came out. We just talked about IBM and Watson and artificial intelligence. That was sort of one of the topics that came up. But any thoughts about that, or smart cities, or what's on your plate? What's got you percolating?
Right. Well, there was one that I really would like to follow up on, and there were so many great sessions. This happened to be one that was moderated by Jason Hauk of Hepta Systems, and he had on the podium CBRE, Brian Oswald, so Paul Oswald's son, talking about those of us who have been in the industry for a few years are so interested about ESI, purchased by CBRE. Something powerful is going to come out of that. And here was Brian kind of talking about what they're doing. And also on the podium, I have to mention, was like SAP and a representative from GE Predicts. And they were talking about more the enterprise databases, these like IBM Watson as well. SAP's, I think, is called HANA, but big data analytics. Before they would have called them data warehousing platforms. When they meet our Sky Foundries, which of course ESI and is a Sky Foundry customer in the past. They were big contributors. Brian himself, big contributor to Haystack, really understands our world and in fact leaders of our world. When those two worlds collide, and that's what I thought I saw in that session of that, and obviously I can barely talk about it because I think it's exciting and I need to follow up with Jason and Brian, and I'd really like to talk about the merging. I think the title of it, I actually have the book here, was operational databases, operational analytics databases. So think Analytica or Sky Foundry, or when they meet these big enterprise data warehousing, how is it effective to query and use those two things together? So I think that's super interesting. And from the standpoint of seeing, wow, CBRE/ESI is sort of a walking, talking example of where this technology is going to go.
So they're kind of in the petri dish right now.
Yeah, and I think that's a big, interesting experiment, and I want to follow it.
Well, it's so cool because we talk to a lot of people, Kenny and I do, and a lot of people seem to think that, our industry is about, 5 to 10 years behind the IoT world, right? And if you want to know where we're going, we just sort of look at what IoT is doing. And I think maybe the only place that we're all figuring out together is how to use big data. I mean, I think that we might all be sort of on par with that. So cool stuff with that. So you're going to be in Tampa at the Haystack meeting. Do you know yet? Next.
Oh yeah, you probably. It seems very far in the future, but we really got to get ramping about it. And every month, I mean, there's going to be a super August article. Yeah. I love the blog that they just set up. I love that they keep getting new members. Very exciting. And I just mentioned Jason of HEPTA, and actually he's involved in one of the new members too. It's IoT Juarez, but another big trend, right? That they were HEPTA super master system integrators. Now they're product developers, they're software developers, and that software development arm joined Haystack. Pretty exciting stuff, I think.
Oh, very, very exciting.
Teresa, let me get that right. So HEPTA Systems bought IoT Juarez? Was that?
I don't think they bought it. I think they launched it.
Okay, so it's internal to HEPTA. Well, I tell you, Eric, those guys are moving and grooving, huh?
They sure are, man. They sure are. All right, Therese. Well, listen, we're kind of up against it time-wise, but our guest this week has been Therese Sullivan from BuildingContext.me. Be sure to check Therese out. Therese, hope we can get you on next month sometime. And we want to know what's going on in the Silicon Valley. We have dubbed you the Queen of Silicon Valley, and your king is Josh Bradshaw. So
I have to say I'd go further than that, because I'm from Chicago, and there's interesting stuff happening in our world all over the world.
You know what? You're right about that. And so how about it's an election year, so let's forget about Trump and Hillary. Let's just go with Queen Therese, the first. All right. Therese Sullivan, BuildingContext.me. Check her out. All right, Kenny Smyers, what do we have up next, big dog?
All right, Eric, next we have the next Tritium Talk. How your Niagara migration path just got more straightforward. So we mentioned Tridium as one of the sponsors, and that they're on the move, and the Niagara 2016 summit was amazing. Niagara 4 is here. It's a lot. It's just moving fast. We're seeing a preference in our own customer base rather than put in the AX products. People are taking the strides to get to Niagara 4 because JACE 8000 just is a more you're in a better position towards the future. So there were some issues with some Niagara AX versions, but they've got these things out, and there are 2 or 3 in particular. So we've got these on the websites, and we also have the announcements for the Tritium Talk registration. One is going to be July 26th at 2 o'clock to 2:45 Eastern Standard Time, and the second one will be a week later, Tuesday, August 2nd, but that one will be an AM, 11 to 11:45 AM Eastern Standard Time. But it's an ideal for customers to evaluate migration strategies. The performance and flexibility and the range of accessory options now offered by JACE 8000 surpasses that of the legacy JACE platforms, R2, of course, and AX. So now what they're trying to do is they're trying to induce people, they're trying to incentivize people to next project use the JACE 8000, use Niagara 4 instead of using AX. Because the truth is, the people stay in a sweet spot. It's very hard to get them to break that business as usual, step out and do the next thing. But again, it's a process, and ultimately, you're not going to have a choice. You're going to have to transition from AX to Niagara 4. So these are the compelling episodes that are going to make that easier.
No, very, very cool. And I want to point out to our video watchers on the VideoCast, on the website now, you'll notice that we got a thing in the lower right-hand corner called Ken's Calendar. And what Ken is doing, this is a great example. Ken sort of calls through, literally hundreds of stuff, of potential events every week that may or may not be interesting to our community, and he is essentially keeping those on Ken's calendar so that you can track those down. So it's a great thing to check if you want to see what's sort of coming up in the coming weeks. Go to Ken's calendar in the lower right hand side. The other thing I want to point out too, Kenny, is on the right hand side we have a thing called Ask a Controls Expert. And if you click on that, you'll get a start recording where you can actually record your question to myself or Ken. And the purpose of this is we want to start sort of an ongoing wiki, if you will, of questions and answers. So what we will do, if you have a question, we will reach out to one of the controls experts in our community, and we'll get your answer for it, and they'll actually record that for you, and then we'll just have sort of an ongoing question and answer sort of thing. So please use that. It's kind of cool. We've checked it out. We've got a couple of questions already, which we'll be posting. You essentially hit the start recording button, ask your questions, and we will find a controls expert to answer it for you.
Eric, that is a really cool thing. I know I've done the testing with you, and I've these are the technologies I think that are just going to make our life simpler and easier. And like you said, what will happen is there will be a reservoir of frequently asked questions that people will go to. Imagine, if we had 10 of these a week, whether you're talking about Niagara platforms, whether you're talking about boilers, chillers, whatever, In other words, this is an opportunity to ask a tough question, and it gives us the opportunity to map that to an expert that can answer that question effectively. And instead of having things, in a written format, this might be an easier format to listen.
Well, I tell you what, I do get some late night questions from females, which is kind of interesting. I think they think they're going to get you because this essentially now maps to my phone, so I actually get the message. But yeah, I don't, ladies. It's not Kenny, it's me. So I don't need to hear how hot you are and how you're dripping with sweat and you need your AC fixed. You make any recommendations? Kenny is not getting these. It's me. So. What's up next, Kenny?
I think we're going to edit that little one out, aren't we?
There are no edits, Kenny.
Oh, dear. My gosh.
Man, you fogged your glasses up with that one, huh?
I stabbed myself in the eye here. So okay, the next post we have was a... keep it spicy. There we go. But no, you did get the call, and I was just, the woman thought you had the ability to give her technical information. Her air conditioner broke, and she really truly thought you were going to tell her how to fix it. So you call that technical information? Okay, all right, whatever, Kenny. All right, what's our next post, big dog? We have an advertisement here in Pittsburgh. Is your wife is hot? It's a big billboard sign. I think Mark Peacock had one of those too. Remember in 2012 we did the control trends. It's just a play on words. This could be tasteless to a lot of people. Well, I've been known to be tasteless before, Kenny, but it's okay. Well, let's move on before we dig ourselves even deeper into this hole. Well, since we're talking about, and then we'll just keep the temperature. So the ACI temperature sensor training, we did the live. ACI did the live presentation, and it was awesome. I was on 2 seminars back to back. We had this ACI temperature sensor, and right after that, we had the EZIO Controls Group North America presentation. Mike Marston did an outstanding job there. But this was a ACI temperature sensor specialist, Brant Kasbaum, and the sales engineer manager, Rob Kapanos, talked about sensors. And I thought I knew a lot about sensors. I really did. I've been to 3 manufacturers, 2 of them that made sensors, and actually got a chance to see it firsthand, how they put everything together, the wire, the leads, put it inside the steel capsule or whatever they use, and then how they put the stuff that prevents moisture migration in there. And ACI makes a high quality sensor. And they showed you how they did it. They took you right there with a video. So they would stop in the middle of this presentation, take you right to the line, show you that particular 30-second segment of how that sensor was manufactured. And wow, that is a very high quality sensor. And you know now why it's so accurate and why it works so well and why they're so dependable. So ACI did a great job. They are going to continue to do the webinars. This was the second they have, and they have another one planned for August, I think, 23rd, which we'll, of course, post as soon as we get our actual hands on the dates and times. But I think it's a great concept. I think this guy did a great job, and I think ACI is a super manufacturer of accessory items that we need. There's nothing more aggravating than an $8 sensor or $20 sensor, or immersion sensor, that doesn't work well or gives you erroneous temperature information, or shorts out because there's the moisture migration it follows the lead, comes down. But this thing is sealed. They have a double seal, in fact, on their sensors, so that there's no way moisture molecules can get in there and affect the sensor and short it out, so that you get bad readings and you get the sensors causing havoc on your building management system. No, agreed, Kenny. Agreed. And I tell you what, before we get on to the next post, I just want to share real quick a great synopsis that you have. Our video viewers can see this on the events that are coming up. This is a great encapsulation. We won't go through them all now, but you can read them. And again, that's Ken's calendar right there. And Ken, from there, we rocked and rolled to somebody I think you know pretty well, right? Yeah. In fact, we We've talked about Siemens. Siemens is also a sponsor for the Control Trends Awards, and they've got a whole litany of great folks, smart guys, great sales engineers, and great products. But I got to meet Dave Rodela several times and attended training classes with him, and we have made it a point to recognize people in the industry that have just done outstanding jobs for 30, 40 years. And they're basically the silent, unsung heroes that do all the heavy lifting and do all the work behind the curtains. Don't really get recognized for the outstanding professional services they've given over a career. And David Rodela was one of them. So this was David's an opportunity to give Dave Rodela from Siemens. He's the talent trainer for the East Coast, but he also does operation support. So I had to be careful because his official position is listed as operation manager at Siemens Building Technologies, working out of the Charleston, South Carolina area. But the majority of the people in the business know him as a trainer. So hats off to Dave Rodela, Siemens. Hats off to Siemens. They're really making a move to become more viable in the two-step distribution channel. They really believe that they've got the products and the support to make those products work and become more of an integral contribution to the building automation. They also are coming up with a kind of Honeywell always had a motto where they wanted some kind of a product in every building, whether it was a house, whether it was a trailer. Honeywell made a product that they could sell and be part of that building space. Well, Siemens is adopting a very similar thing. They want to be part of the building space. And I think they've made a great effort now to get to the two-step people, to the distributors, and to the contractors, and make the Siemens products more visible and give you an idea from the A to Z product line that they have.
Well, I think you're right. And it's great to know, Dave. I did not know the name Kenny. And based on what you've told me, he's an awesome guy. So I could totally see him up for some Control Trends Awards this year. And a special shout out to our friend Josh Felburn from Siemens. Josh is one of the young executives at Siemens who's just making a change there. I think you're right, man. It's a fresh approach. These guys are one of the largest controls companies on the planet. And it's great to see them bringing more products through two-step distribution, man. And I tell you what, because that's a good thing, because with the future of air conditioning, Notre Dame Smyers, tell us about the future of air conditioning, big dog.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. Nostradamus, who we got? We got three Nostradamuses. We got Ken St. Clair, we've got Jim Young, and who was our last Nostradamus?
No, Kenny Smyers, man. The man, the myth, the legend, Nostradamus. But anyway, what did this report tell you, man? Because we're running up against it. We're going to have to hustle it up here.
Well, here's the deal. DOE is putting out a lot of good information. They have a weekly publication that comes out of the Building Technology Office. And if you don't read it, you should, because it really and truly is a FAC funding site. They give you information. They tell you where the money's going to be spent. And if you're involved in the industry and you know that this particular facet of the industry has just received $100 million worth of money to develop it, that's where you want to put your chips in, because we know now that the air conditioning equipment represents a $100 billion industry that consumes over 4% of the world's building energy. So all the energy around the world, 4% that goes into air conditioning. And we know that air conditioning, we've done some great posts on Carrier, Willis Carrier, and how air conditioning basically revitalized our economy. The whole South, the whole belt, the Sun Belt was brought to life by air conditioning, because it was be so hot this time of the year and down in Georgia, you couldn't have people working in buildings. So what air conditioning has done to the world in general is just incredible. It's listed as the top 10 inventions. So this goes into the detail of what's going to happen, why it's going to happen, the impact, and what we can do as far as when we become more conscientious, have better efficiencies. There's an immediate correlation to greener Earth. We put less CO2 up in the atmosphere. It's win-win. It's a good post. Please read it, because there's a lot more there. And the guys in the business looking for your next market opportunities, this is a source of where money's going. So if you follow the money, you follow the future.
Man, it's kind of like the gangster Kenny Smyers right there, man. I tell you what, follow the money, right? But yeah, dude. So how do I get one of those $1 million, man? I mean, that's just. Well, I tell you what, energy efficient air conditioning. I think our end of it is obviously thermostats, right? Stuff like that.
Well, you sell it all. You sell refrigerant. You actually sell refrigerant, don't you?
Not really.
We used to. It just got too hard. So the people like John Stones and the different people, United Refrigeration, they were much better. It's very bulky and very hard to sell. But from the refrigerant out, we sell all the pressure controls, right, all the refrigerant monitors. We sell the So what happens is that the the size, the actual footprints are becoming smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
The chiller plants, used to be gigantic, mammoth things, and now you've got the manufacturers out there like Trane.
There you go. The Belimo energy valve. That's where we get our piece. All right, Belimo, I hope you guys are listening, because if you use the Belimo energy valve, you're not sizing your system based off of a pressure drop. You can size it off a GPM for the coil. You can raise your return air temperature. You can have a smaller chiller, smaller piping. Done, Kenny Smyers. Have the government send us our check. We just solved that problem.
I got you. All right. What do we...
We got Vykon, man. Vykon's up next again.
No, I think what I did was I wanted to parlay the two Vykon announcements, because one was they're doing a presentation on a basically a webinar on those 2 Tuesdays, but this was the actual coverage now of what the progress is. So the previously announced Vykon Egg Supervisor 3.8 111.2 and the enterprise security 2.3.1.5 software builds are now available from a download off your Niagara community. And so particularly the Vykon security, enterprise security people, this is huge, because you can now bring your enterprise security JASES into your Niagara 4.0 and 3.8 enterprise supervisor software. So it was a big step up. The enterprise security was kind of locked there for a while at 3.6, and in the 3.8 and the 4.0 could not talk to the 3.6 because you had to upgrade to 3.8 before 4.0 could talk to the system. So it's basically an internal software upgrade that now makes those two platforms the integrity, or they're now compatible. So a lot of hard work.
Do they call that the Oprah upgrade? Why can't we just all talk?
No, that's a Laura Kevin upgrade.
Okay.
That's
I'm with you. All right.
Special K, because remember the interview you did out there, and that'll be posted here. It was very proud of the fact that it took a great effort to get that software upgraded so it could become part of the Niagara 4 enterprise.
Good deal with that. And special shout out to Roger Rebenak talking about security. Roger's on vacation this week. If Raj didn't send me some money here in a few minutes, I'm going to disclose his location so we can all go harass him. But hope Raj is having a great vacation. But listen, let's move on. We replayed the ACI temperature. Let's move on to Cylance. Fred talked a little bit about him when we talked to Fred. You did a great interview with Cylance. It was kind of short and sweet. But Kenny, what can you tell us about Cylance?
Yeah, well, that RealCom IBCom is it's a great place to be, because in a very short period of time you can walk through the vendor showcase and see so much new technology. I had just seen Cylance in one of the airports, might have been Houston, or one of the big tunnels that you go through, and the people conveyor. They have these big billboards, the electronic digital billboards that go, what's going on. And Cylance was everywhere. And Cylance is probably one of the most recognized names now in antivirus security. But I was listening to the guy. He was a sales engineer, or he's actually not. He was a information technology and services specialist. His name was Todd Rodemaker from Cylance in the San Francisco area. But they were talking about artificial intelligence now and the mathematics involved, the logarithms, to scientifically predict foul play. In other words, we had watched Cade Metz tell us about artificial intelligence is going to become more and more prominent. And it might be our only hope to deal with things like cybersecurity. And then I got to walk through the vendor show and hear a guy actually talk about it to people that were very interested, because this is what you need to prevent the loss of your intellectual property or paying ransom to get your seized database back. He was giving examples of how countries, coal mines, people across the world have to pay the cybersecurity people, the terrorists, and the people that basically compromised their system and took it over. They have to pay them $100,000. There was a police department in New England that had to buy back their database from a hacker. So,
wow.
We're looking at some real serious real world problems, and Cylance is one of your opportunities. So what I thought was really cool is they have a great website. You can go there to get a bunch of information. So if you don't know anything, it's a good place to start. You can get videos where they go into deep demonstrations. They got data sheets, white papers, and then they also will give you a Cyber Protect demo at no charge to show you what they can offer your organization.
No, it's great stuff, and we're keeping our hands on the pulse of that cyber trend. And again, special thanks to Fred Gordy with his help here. So, dude, listen, brings us to the last post of the week. We need to start wrapping it up, and we're kind of going from the complicated, the deep it to just kind of a cool product in ProLon. And our Dozier Mill sort of introduces the ProLon. It can be a VVT system, it can be a VAV system. These guys, they're a smaller company. They're out of Canada. Our girl Angie Jarvis works with them. Angie's been around the industry for a long time. And I think, Kenny, where this product really, really fits in, and we're starting to get some traction with it, is if you're a service contractor or even a mechanical contractor, you don't want to go through the training of the Niagara and the licenses and all that kind of stuff, and you don't want it to be complicated. You want it to be simple. This is your product. And you can see from this video that very easy to install, but I can tell you the product works. The tech support is extraordinary. The customer support's extraordinary. So I got somebody outside I'm going to have to shoot because they're doing my grass, even though I guess I should be grateful for that. So I'm not going to shoot them. No violence today. We're just all going to get along. We're all going to get along. But it's a cool product, and we're getting a lot of traction with it, as well as other CGNA members. That's Controls Group North America. It's an association Kenny and I are both members of, that top distributors in the country. But any thoughts on ProLon?
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. First of all, there's a misconception. The name ProLon kind of like boxes them into a lawn protocol, right, and it's not true. They have Modbus and BACnet, so it's you can use another controller and use these as Modbus or BACnet controllers on a BACnet MST bus. So also they have free the software is proprietary, but it's free. So then that's what you need to do. That's the tool to configure it. So, but there's no yearly licenses, there's no fees, and the technical support, like you said, is A1. So some of the areas that have done really well, because a lot of people believe too that these were like, by location, by the continental U.S. So if you were in the Northeast, and you have cold seasons versus Florida where you have hot seasons. Well, we found out that ProLon's biggest success stories have been in Texas and in Minnesota, where they've got massive installations. So they're starting to penetrate the North American market, and some of the greatest gains they've had have been in areas where there's no truth to the fact that it's a northern product or a southern product. It is a VAV product or VVT product that can be used anywhere in the country.
And I say they are a strong candidate to be one of the winners of what we call the race to the small space. Our guy Richard Newberry told us, is it 8 million buildings in the U.S. that have no form of energy management, and this is a prime product for that.
Exactly, and that's as you said. We all fight so hard, it seems, for that 20%. We're spending 80% of our efforts fighting over the same 20% of the market. Where if we actually used the co-opetition model and went out there and created new markets, instead of going after somebody else's business, go find the buildings that don't have any control. The lights are on. There's big indicators that these people could use technical and professional support of the products that we sell. So when you're looking for your next sales call, you see lights on in a parking lot or lights on the outside of a building, and it shouldn't be on because it's daylight. That is a company, or that is an organization that needs your help. And one of the products, so you have a good, better, best offering. You can give them a deep integration for enterprise-wide solutions, or you can take care of a specific standalone building. You need a repertoire of products, and ProLon gives you that very solid entry-level control system that'll take care of, it still provides you great graphics, still provides you web-enabled control, remote control, so it's just good stuff.
And then if you ever go to a bigger system, you can pick it up with the BACnet points and nothing lost there. So it's all good, as they say down south. And with that, Kenny Smyers, I think it is all good. This is going to be a wrap. So a special thanks to our sponsors this week, Tridium and the panel shop. Be sure to check both of them out. And a special thanks to our guests, our girl from the Valley, Therese Sullivan. So with that, thanks for tuning in. Have a great week, and remember, stay in control.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers. And that's a wrap.